All right, guys. So one of my favorite segments here. We love it when Cenk Uygur goes on Piers Morgan because there's always fireworks and except the last time Rabbi Shmuley was discussing butt plugs, and that was a little uncomfortable. I think it was uncomfortable for Cenk too. He made that very clear. But now he went on the show. He's with, remember Joe Walsh? He was a Republican congressman during the Tea Party era. And he used to be like a bomb thrower on the far right. And now all of a sudden he's like, I don't know. He's like I don't know if he's an anti-Trump Republican still, or if he's now made the switch to like he's a resistance liberal. It's kind of hard to tell just from this segment, but he's with that guy, but that guy's not really involved in this back and forth. He's with this neocon Emily Schrader, and they're going to debate what's happening with Iran right now. So we all know the backstory. Israel attacked the Iranian consulate in Syria. That's an act of aggression. That's an act of war. It's completely illegal. It's not a thing that you can just do and get away with. But they're Israel, and they're unhinged, so they think they can. So they do that, and then Iran retaliates with what was basically like a virtue signal attack. They gave them ample warning hours and hours in advance. Almost all the missiles got shot out of the sky. And it was really a way of saying, like, hey, we have to respond to save face, but also we don't want a wider war, so here's your warning. Okay. So now, with the table set, Piers Morgan is going to ask Cenk a question about Iran. The neocon is going to come in and warmonger, and the rest is history.
The whole regional issues are very complex. And we have, of course, at the same time, the situation in Gaza. But Cenk, when you see what Iran did to Israel, what do you think Israel's response should be?
Their response should be nothing. They should leave well enough alone. Joe Biden, with a rare victory here in being right about the situation, de-escalate right now. Israel obviously started this. And by that, I don't mean we can get into, oh my God, they're proxies and the Hamas, but then the occupation, and we can go all the way back to 1948. What I mean specifically is they attacked Iran basically on its home soil by attacking the consulate, killing their top general, etc. It was an act of provocation. It was meant to get Iran to retaliate. Netanyahu has been dying for a war with Iran for about 2 decades now. He definitely started this. It left Iran absolutely no choice but to respond, and they responded in a way that basically showed their hand, which was, we don't want a war. They gave 72-hour notice. It took the drones several hours to get there. If Iran wanted to do damage inside Israel, it would not have done this type of attack at all. This was Iran basically saying, look, we have to appease our domestic audience here and tell them, oh, we were tough and struck Israel back. But they knew they were going to get no casualties. So we had a tit for tat. We should leave it alone right now. If Israel goes back and hits Iran again, then there's going to be no end to this. Then Iran is going to have to respond, and this time it's going to be real. And people are going to die in Israel. It's a terrible, disastrous idea. They should definitely stop right now.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. My only point of disagreement is on Biden, where he says, you know, Biden's right for once, where he's urging de-escalation. Look, the problem with that is I view it the same as his like finger wagging and PR campaign on the issue of Gaza, where he's like, hey, don't kill so many civilians. Here's more money and more weapons. Go ahead, do what you want. But I'm against you doing what you want, but go ahead and do what you want. It's the same thing on this, right? He says, oh yeah, we're urging restraint and de-escalation, and we're allegedly telling Israel, you know, if you attack, you're on your own. We're not going to help you if Iran attacks back. Because then there's also an equal number of moments where they say the opposite. One of the White House spokespeople the other day said, Israel's a sovereign country. They're going to do what they want, and we can't control that. And if you're saying that, then that's effectively a green light for Israel to retaliate, right? And then we've also heard we have an ironclad commitment to Israel's security. They answered like that in the context of, hey, will you help Israel if they get into a bigger war with Iran? So, unfortunately, I don't believe Joe Biden when he says restraint, de-escalation, because he has the ability to force that on Israel, but I don't think he's going to do that. So that's my biggest disagreement. Everything else he says there is completely right. Israel absolutely started this. You can't be a crybaby and punch somebody in the face, and then when they retaliate, go, how dare you? Now I'm going to escalate even more. But the fact of the matter is, as Cenk points out, Netanyahu has always wanted this war. We've known going back to the George W. Bush administration. He wanted it then. He wanted it under Barack Obama. He wanted it under Donald Trump. And now he wants it under Joe Biden. It's a matter of historical record. There's been 1,000 pieces of evidence that point in this direction that he wants that war with Iran.
Okay, Emily Schrader, I can see you, I would say not entirely agreeing with what you've just heard.
Yes, I strongly disagree, as you can imagine. I think the entire premise of asking Israel to exercise restraint rather than deterrence is a fundamental part of the problem here. I mean, as the Crown Prince mentioned, the Islamic Republic has been doing this for many, many years. It's a fundamental premise of the regime since 1979. They have been sworn to Israel's destruction. They have been sworn to America's destruction. This is a fundamental value of the Islamic Republic. And not only that, but I find it very interesting what Cenk is saying right now, because the majority of the Iranian people, both inside and outside of Iran, disagree with him. In fact, there are thousands and thousands of Iranians who wish that Israel will assist the people of Iran in bringing down this regime. We are not going to see a better future in the Middle East for the Arab Muslims, for the Iranians, or for the Israelis in the Middle East until there is regime change in Iran. And to say that Israel started this is preposterous. It's not Israel that has a countdown to the destruction of Israel in the center of their largest city. That's Iran. It's Iran who has made hating Israel a fundamental premise of the regime, an obsessive hatred, an obsessive irrational hatred, that they have taken money from the people of Iran and poured hundreds of millions of dollars into terrorist proxy organizations on the borders of Israel in order to ultimately destruct and destroy the state of Israel.
So, in other words, Iran is so unhinged and they want to destroy everybody and they're the worst and they're nefarious and they're evil. Do you have any thoughts on the current genocide that Israel is carrying out against Palestinians in Gaza? Do you have any thoughts on the increasing onslaught from illegal Israeli settlers in the West Bank against Palestinians? No thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts on the conferences that are being held about resettling Gaza and ethnically cleansing the Palestinians in Gaza? Do you have any thoughts on that? You have any thoughts on people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich in top positions of power in the Israeli government who openly talk about expanding and creating a greater Israel, which would include parts of Lebanon and Egypt and Jordan? So in other words, the idea is she's harping away. Iran is expansionist and they hate everybody around them, when Israel is expansionist and they hate everybody around them. Jesus Christ, I hate this woman so much already.
They have taken money from the people of Iran and poured hundreds of millions of dollars into terrorist proxy organizations on the borders of Israel in order to ultimately destruct and destroy the state of Israel. I also want to add one more thing about the consulate that's important to note, that it was not, in fact, a consulate. It was an annex of the consulate. And even if it was a consulate, under international law, it is permissible to strike when it's being used as a military headquarters to plan and conduct terrorist operations. Israel is in a...
Okay, and Israel lied about that. They lied about that, like they do all the fucking time. This is what they said about Soleimani when the U.S. took out Soleimani. Well, we were doing it, but he was plotting an attack against the U.S. He was on the ground fighting ISIS at that time. They just lie. Sure, we attacked your consulate, which is like attacking on your home soil, but we got the replacement for Soleimani, a guy who wasn't in the midst of attacking you. There was no direct threat. They weren't planning anything. By the way, the new lie is, that guy helped plan October 7th. No, he didn't. We have ironclad intelligence which showed that Iran was pissed after October 7th because they were like, what the fuck? Now we're going to get blamed. They're going to say, since you're our proxy, you're doing it on behalf of us. This is lie.
We're in a state of war with the proxy of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Hamas, and that is what that commander who was killed in that strike was doing there. So this is a legitimate target, even though Israel hasn't officially claimed responsibility.
Okay, I'm going to bring Joe in a moment. I just want to check. You were laughing at one stage there. What were you laughing at?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of absurd things were said there. Like any mention of the Crown Prince. I mean, the guy's the son of a former dictator of Iran. He has zero credibility with the Iranian people. Look, the Iranian regime is
absolutely
a
false.
Disaster.
He is the most popular figure of any Iranians. Are you Iranian? Ask the Iranians yourself. It's very, very clear.
Oh, please,
well, there are some people who don't support him.
To be fair, it is true that there are some people, even in Iran, who want to get the son of the Crown Prince back and go back to like a secular dictator, right? That was the Shah. He was like a secular dictator. But he's still a dictator, right? So like, there's more options on the menu than just Islamic theocratic dictator and secular dictator, right? And that's kind of Cenk's point. Okay, let's keep going.
He is the most popular figure of any Iranians. Are you Iranian? Ask the Iranians yourself. It's very, very clear.
Oh, please,
well, there are some people who don't support him. The vast majority of them do support the Shah.
Is she just going to talk over me? Because we can keep doing this all day long. Let me answer the question. So, first of all, the idea that they want their dictator back is hilarious. Second of all, but the thing that I laughed out loud at is she's like, oh, the Iranian people want Israel to bomb them. Do they? Do they? That's the most preposterous thing I have ever heard in my life.
I said the Iranian people want... It's actually not. There are multiple...
She doesn't even attack and say, that's not actually what I meant. I didn't mean that the Iranian people want Israel to bomb them. She's like, that's not absurd. The Iranian people do want Israel to bomb them. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Pick another field. Pick another field. This is not for you.
That show that. I personally think it's crazy.
Multiple polls that show that they want to be bombed by Israel.
There have been that they support.
I would love to see who conducted those polls, what the phrasing of the question was. That is the most obvious push poll of all time, if it even exists, right? What a ridiculous thing to say. Guys, any people of any country, stop and think about this for a second. If you get bombed by another country, nothing will make you rally around the flag more. Literally nothing. The best evidence of this, George W. Bush, in the wake of 9/11, had like a 90% approval rating. Why? The rally around the flag effect. If you get attacked, everybody circles the wagon, and all of a sudden, we're all Iranians now, right? Everybody on our team is the good guys. That's how the psychology of this works. God, she's so dumb.
That they support Israeli strikes. That they support Israeli strikes on regime, IRGC, and regime sites exclusively. On IRGC sites. Yes, the majority of the Iranian people support regime change. The majority of the Iranian people support regime change.
But now she's playing loose, because, like, the details matter, don't they? It's true. Like, okay, the population of Iran is relatively young, and they're definitely more secular, definitely more democratic than the old guard, theocratic, revolutionary guard group and the Grand Ayatollah. Like, it's true that the Iranian people don't want this government. They definitely want a different government. But don't you think the specifics matter? If that new government comes about because Israel wages an all-out war against Iran, I think that's like one of the only things that could make them then turn around and say, you know what we had before was better. You know, how many people are going to be dead as a result of it? How many people are going to go starving as a result of it? How many people are going to be displaced as a result of it? The details of the so-called regime change absolutely matter. It's not like, well, any old thing will do. Just get rid of the Ayatollahs. Like, oh, what an absurd thing.
On IRGC sites. Yes, the majority of the Iranian people support regime change. The majority of the Iranian people support regime change. I find it disgraceful that you are laughing at the
Come on, I can't. I hate people like this. You're in the middle of a debate. It's a political debate. You show up to debate, and then this is disgraceful. How dare you react like that? He's reacting like that because you said one of the dumbest fucking things anybody's ever said on planet Earth. Okay? You want to attack the substance, or you want to do the my feelings? I'm offended. Disgraceful.
I'm laughing in your face.
Who live under an Islamist dictatorship.
No.
There are women who are being dragged away by the morality police. As the Crown Prince mentioned, there is a second front of this war, and it is against the Iranian people internally. Is that funny to you?
Let me get
Oh my God. So she's so dishonest. Holy shit. Pro tip to anybody doing a debate, don't do this. Do not do this.
Is she just going to talk 90% of the time? Is she just going to talk 90% of the time?
Jake, why don't you respond to that?
Right.
Is that funny to you?
Let me just respond real quick.
Do you find it funny that women, that Iranians are being oppressed
on
on
a daily basis by this regime? Whatever.
Will you answer this? Here, let me say another 5 sentences while I say, will you answer this? But I'm going to keep talking after I ask you, will you answer this?
Okay,
Jack,
you can talk all
your
day
response.
long. We're not going to. All right. So, listen, the Iranian regime is terrible. I don't want Muslim fundamentalists in charge of Iran, and the people of Iran don't want Muslim fundamentalists in charge of Iran. So saying that they're against the regime is obvious. That's not the point. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If you said, hey, there's an internal revolution, and they're disgusted by the way that the Iranian regime is treating women or its own citizens and not giving them freedom, I totally agree. But if you claim that they want Israel to bomb Iran in order to effectuate regime change, it's not even, you don't even sound like a lunatic. You sound like you're a comic or something. You're trying to make a joke. That's why I'm laughing. No, the Iranian people do not want to be bombed.
Let me bring in Joe. Let me bring in Joe.
But furthermore...
All right, let me bring in Joe. Joe's been waiting very patiently. Joe, here's my question for you about this. Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature, but let me just put an idea out there about what may be really going on here. It doesn't seem to me to be a coincidence that October the 7th happened when it did, or that Iran chooses this moment to attack Israel directly, and that it may all be linked to the Abraham Accords, to the normalization of relations between Israel and many of the Middle Eastern countries, to the fact that Saudi Arabia was on the verge of joining that normalization of relations with Israel, and that for Iran this is the ultimate nightmare, and that through their proxy tentacles in Gaza and Hamas, they facilitated what happened on October the 7th.
Why is he ignoring the ironclad intelligence that we have? That it was clear. They came out and said Iran was pissed about October 7th. They were pissed because they know we're going to get blamed, and then they might come attack us. I don't know why he's ignoring that. The Palestinians on their own have agency. And yes, it was the Abraham Accords. Yes, it was the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem. That pissed them the fuck off. Because the whole world was giving them the middle finger and spitting in their eye. They were reminding people, we're here. We're still here. I don't know why I'm still listening to this, but I just want to give it a little more.
And maybe deliberately provoke Israel into what they would see as an overreaction, which would then lose global support. And it may be that what they've done...
It was Israel that provoked Iran. Israel attacked Iran first with the bombing of the consulate. What? Okay, I don't... Piers.
With this missile strike directly into Israel is part of the same process, deliberately goading Israel into potentially overreact.
Deliberately goading Israel. You know who's doing all the goading? It is Israel. This is unbelievable.
Which may ultimately play into Iran's hands.
Pierce, I think you are spot on, my friend. Look, it's silly to engage in who started this first. Let's not do that. We all three of us agree that Iran's ruling regime is an evil regime. The Iranian people
so is the Israeli regime. They are outright evil.
Deserve to live in freedom. Pierce, you're exactly right. Look, the answer is the only way we get to peace in this region is when Israel can partner with the moderate Arab countries and isolate Iran, isolate Iran's proxies and all the other Islamists, not Muslims, Islamists who want to destroy Israel. Pierce, which is why I agree with Cenk on what Israel should do to what happened over the weekend. Do nothing.
You know, it was a flawless victory for Cenk in his debate with this neocon freak, because even this guy who used to be a super far-right Republican, a Tea Party guy, and normally, again, I know he's anti-Trump, but usually he's like, I'm an anti-Trump conservative, and I have conservative opinions, and he comes out and he's like, no, Cenk's right, they shouldn't do anything. It is very rare in this business that in a real-time debate, you actually, like, change somebody's mind. But because this woman is so unhinged, Joe Walsh was like, yeah, I think Cenk's right. Israel shouldn't do anything. Oh, yes. That's amazing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.